lot of talk about it, and as we're hearing today, this is really what we should be driving towards as a ministry or a region. But I don't feel like there's great visibility to a lot of that stuff, which makes it hard, particularly as we're working on projects, to make sure that we're aligned with that.
Tracy, do you have an answer to that? I'm gonna look to you on that.
So each region, it's up to that region director and the CI folks in that region. So the system does not maintain a site where all the regional or ministry data would be located. So I would say you guys could get together with Matt and say, you know, is there a kind of a public location that we could publish all of that
We
for
started some
everybody?
stuff in 2019, but I don't know if we're changing for 2020. So, Alyssa?
Where would I be able to find information on what work is being done to improve the KPI?
Some great questions.
So each KPI, so each performance board should have, you know, every measure on every performance board should somehow align up to that system goal. So that's how you would know kind of locally what's being done. Also on the same SharePoint folder that I'll send you the link to, each of the KPIs has a strategic, what we call A3. I don't know if anyone's heard of A3 thinking, but just kind of a problem solving methodology. And so each of those system owners, so the system executives thinks through, okay, what's my problem statement for this particular key performance indicator? Where are we today? Where do we want to be? And so they kind of talk through, not talk through, but in that strategic A3, they kind of talk through what is their strategy, or they document what is their strategy moving forward. Are there any initiatives in place? They track metrics there on the A3 as well. So it's in that folder.
And I don't want to get us off track, but will there be a point where we talk about the A3s more? I feel like that's something I have a very surface level understanding of.
Oh, okay. I don't think we cover it in this particular class, but certainly we've got tons of materials out there that we can share that kind of talk about the A3, its purpose, how to use one. So we'll be happy to share that with you as well.
Just talk with us offline, Alyssa. We can
Yeah.
kind of do something offline.
So for projects, we have a portfolio of projects, and I think that's kind of what we're looking for, is a portfolio of KPIs. I'm just throwing out a term here. It's like a master list of KPIs. If I want to know what St. Clair's KPIs are, I go to that document instead of having to go to the boards. I mean,
You mean
just
like
because of
what
logis-
each department at St.
Yeah,
Clair's doing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
you
is
know,
it
to my
written
knowledge,
down
we're not
anywhere
building any
other
sort
than
of
the boards?
master kind of list of what each board has on it.
Yeah,
That
I mean,
would
that's
be-
a lot of work, I get it.
That's a big thing to maintain.
It's a big
so.
lift.
I think where you're probably going with this, Sandra, though, is just, is there at least something higher level if there are major initiatives underway? Because at least where
Yeah.
I've run into is that I'll be working on something and then I find out, oh, there's 3 other similar projects being done in different places, either here within Wisconsin or across the regions. And if we can try to better align so that we're being respectful of resources, and if we can learn from each other, take
Sure.
best practices, that's the kind of thing I think we're trying to better
Yeah, and I'm
understand.
thinking even at the ministry level,
Right.
like using readmissions as an example, you know, maybe there was some departmental work being done already, and we could have leveraged that KPI.
I think that's you all are bringing up a really good point, and it's recognized even at the system level that right now there may be some duplicative efforts, you know, region to region or even ministry to ministry. The good news is, again, it's been recognized and they're getting ready to kind of do something about it. The senior leadership team, so the system leadership team, is getting together with all of the regional presidents a week from Friday, and they are literally going to go through, they're right now collecting every single initiative that's going on at SSM. And they're bringing those together. They're gonna spend an entire day together, basically prioritizing, deselecting, understanding where there is duplication. Each of those regional presidents is then going to be tasked to go back to his or her region and do the same with their ministries. Again, to create some alignment, and I think coming out of that is exactly what you're gonna be looking for, which is, okay, now where do we actually house this information so that everyone understands, you know, these are the top 8 initiatives from at the system level, as well as the top, you know, 5 to 9 in each region, so that everybody's on the same page about all of the work that's currently underway. So great opportunity, and again, hopefully more in the next month or so on how we can improve that understanding for everybody across the system.
So I think this is a good reminder that we're not not even a full year into the launch of the operating model. So I think there's still many things we are recognizing we need to do that we haven't done. And I think the points you're bringing up are spot on. And sounds like we might be getting there maybe later this year. So definitely keep asking those questions and raising those ideas, because certainly your performance board is where you can have some ways of sharing your ideas. So certainly we'll be talking about that a little bit later too. So great questions. Sorry we don't have like an exact answer on that, but I think you're in the right mindset, especially when it comes to strategy deployment and KPIs.
Scott, if I can add to that, I think
Yeah.
that all this conversation definitely gears us towards that operating model of that shared learning. And Tom, to your point, what you're doing, how can I pull from information from that? So when we look at the operating model, all those little pieces, that's just another thing that we're learning from. That breakthrough innovations, what are the ideas that people have and how can we apply those?
I think it also moves us from working as ministries to working as regions and as systems to share that.
All right, let's talk a little catchball. This again was something not too long ago we were in the process of doing. So I would love to just hear from any of you on what do you know of catchball? Did you do catchball for your 2020 goals? And if you did, what went well, what didn't go well? I would love just kind of anything, again, that you either know, don't know, if you've experienced it, what went well, what didn't. Anyone like to share? Everyone knows that has heard the term catchball, right? So you've at least heard the term. What are the things you know about it?
I think what I understand is it helps people at the line level be instrumental in defining what goals are for their department, rather than the goals being communicated.
Yep. That's spot on.
And so as a PM team this year, like Justin Handel had come up with some goal ideas, and then we had a series of meetings where we talked through those ideas, we provided feedback, asked questions, and
Okay.
then kind of ironed it. Then he would kind of go back and see what we could or couldn't do, and then so we kind of with a back and forth process a little bit of what are we actually going to set as our goal.
So that's awesome. What through that process do you feel went well, and maybe where is there still opportunity?
Appreciate the opportunity to provide feedback to people on it. I don't know that it's always well received or listened to.
Okay.
And that's not a knock on any one person, that's
Sure.
just organizationally how I feel we've operated.
Melissa, anything from your team? Emily?
I think, so, I don't know if you guys know, but I actually came from urology, the last few months, 6 months, 7 months ago. For us, the trickle-down effect was super hard, knowing what system has as a goal and how it affects us down to the lower levels. I think that was the hardest part of it. We were able to set our goals, but even to get people to think outside the box of what can we do to improve, what needs improvement. I understand that you don't want change, but we need change in order to move forward. How do we do this? I think from the standpoint of like the team members to the managers to the director, we did really, really well communication wise, but I think adding that extra few tiers was difficult for us.
Why do you think it was difficult, curiously?
Communication, I think that was the biggest part, or lack of communication. We were basically given like a piece of paper that said, hey, here's your goals, like we were saying, the Excel spreadsheet. And then here, why don't you try and figure out what you can do with these and how
I
it
think
will affect your
you're alluding
department.
to probably the first iteration we did.
That could be.
Yeah, because I think you're alluding to when we were setting for 2019, which I think most of us who were kind of supporting that, I would say that wasn't true catchball, just given how fast we had to kind of come up with things, whereas for 2020, there was, not maybe as long a runway as some of us would have liked, but a much longer runway than 2019. Alyssa?
I think that's a key component of when Catchball works well is providing time to complete it. That's the only way you'll be able to get earnest feedback is there's time for it to be responded to, adapted.
I think definitely, I think it started, what, in July, Tracy,
Yeah.
the senior level?
Yeah.
So, I don't know if the plan is to start even sooner than that for 2021, but, you know, I think it was definitely attempted to start much earlier in the process. So, here's just kind of a nice visual to kind of show how the catchball process will work. So, you know, we're gonna start all the way up top, you know, with the board, and Laura's team really kind of setting what is the system KPI is going to be and what are some of those goals. Then it's going to trickle down through our, you know, the presidents and the vice presidents, you know, in the medical group and the hospitals. Then we start getting down between the director and manager maybe and supervisor, and then ultimately all the way down to the frontline staff. And in between each of those layers, there should be catchball back and forth. There should be that dialogue, that feedback. Some of it may be received well, others maybe times it won't. But it's really meant to be kind of a two-way dialogue. And what isn't depicted on here is there might even be some kind of horizontal catchball with maybe some support services. Maybe we need to get IHT's thoughts, IT, HR, you know, depending on what is being talked about, that might be part of the process as well. That probably happens more at our higher level, probably not at the front line, but certainly we want to do some of that horizontal catchball where applicable. Again, that's not depicted on here. So this really is going to be the tool for us as an organization for setting our goals every single year. And hopefully every year we get better and better at it. And you know, maybe we don't need as much time because it's just now part of our DNA. This is, you know, a new concept for a lot of people. You know, supporting D Medical Group, this was not the way we did things. It was, here come the goals, here you go, put them up on your goal poster. Wow, that, you know, might not mean anything to me. It may mean something to me, but the frontline level really didn't have that voice. So it is a change, and really asking frontline staff, nurses, support folks to weigh in on that. It is something new, and maybe they don't know quite how to do that. But that's where we have to coach and guide them to be able to have that conversation. So hopefully, again, year after year, that'll become more just part of what we do. Yeah.
One of the things I've noticed that's a little challenging is if you're trying to create goals that maybe work with or depend on another team, with this process it seemed a little cumbersome to try and be like, oh, if we wanted to try and involve pharmacy and IHT and all do this one thing together, it seemed to get cumbersome, or it was difficult to try to fit that all in the time frame and in the little boxes, if you will. So that's one thing that I'm just curious, some of that more cross collaboration and goal setting across teams, or it would maybe move us further in a direction because there's a couple of groups moving together
Sure.
on something versus it felt a little bit siloed by department and a little bit siloed by area, I guess,
Yeah.
still. But maybe it's coming and we have to get more practice.
Yeah, that's exactly where my head goes. One thing, just to clarify, I used to work for the St. Louis region, and I just moved to the system office a few months ago, basically right when kind of strategy deployment was starting for 2020. One thing that really surprised me is I think that at least I know I just assumed that all of our senior leaders were experts at this, like that they had been doing it for years and knew exactly how to do it, and you know that it was their thing. And what I realized is they don't know how to do it yet either. So this is very, very new, even for the most senior executives in the organization. So even that process for them, you know, they as a senior leadership team tried to come together, do some horizontal catchballs. So let's say if I'm the head of, you know, plan ops and buildings, how can I drive a safety KPI for nursing, you know? And so
Right.
they were having all of those conversations. Again, not natural, has never happened before, right? They're used to just kind of being told, well, I'm supposed to focus on this. And so I do think it's just gonna take probably a couple more years of, well, we're gonna try this again. I think the good news is we can't physically really start too much sooner in the year planning goals for the following year, because we need to see how we perform during the year to understand where we're going, right? So we can't just set goals in March for 2021. But I think we'll do it smarter each year. I think, again, just understanding those types of conversations that need to happen. It doesn't have, I think this year everyone was really, oh yeah, we can get Catchball done at the system level with the regions in a week. Well, that doesn't work very well, right? When you're talking about wanting to actually have conversations occur. So I think we'll just use the time hopefully a little bit smarter this year to give, because we've heard a lot of feedback from it was just too rushed right at the end of the year. But a lot of that was, again, those system leaders trying to really understand, no, you have to finalize your system goals because nobody can play catchball
Right.
until we understand where the system needs to go. So I think we'll get better and better. It was, it feels a little messy, but that's continuous improvement for you. So.
I was kind of thinking that same thing, Tracy, that the KPI probably isn't gonna change too much year to year, but in these first few years, we're sort of learning the definitions and what that really means, and then how to move the dial on it. And then the next year, the KPI won't change, but we'll move the dial a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I think we'll kind of gain some time in doing that, and
Yeah.
it'll go a little bit faster every year.
Yeah, because there were no overall big changes to any of the KPIs for 2020. I know some, we went away from bundle and now we call it composite system. The verbiage or language changed, but there was no like earth-shaking, changes to any of the things we were focusing on.
The process is maturing and there's that learning curve.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Just one thing to call out, which I think is really powerful about the catchball process, is that for frontline staff, this isn't like a one and done thing. For frontline staff, as they are doing their performance boards, as they're the people doing the work and impacting our KPIs, that they get to have this conversation on a regular basis. So it isn't just like we do this in November, December, and we're done, and what we put on our board is the goal for 2020. The catchball continues those cycles, those reiterative cycles of conversation and adjusting goals throughout the year with their leaders, just again to make sure, are we still headed that true north? So I think that's one